All right, my friends, we're going to compare Wellesley just one more time. I had a comment on the channel yesterday from someone that said in 2003, if you started with the Wellesley, you would have ran out of money if you're taking a $5,000 a year, 5% adjusted for inflation. I said, I don't think that's true. So, and we'll do other videos later today comparing Wellington. So let's take a look at this. So I'm looking at Wellesley starting in 2000. We'll go to 2003. We're going to compare it to the S&P 500. So we missed out. The S&P 500 missed out on the 2001, 2, and 3, or 2000, 2001, and 2 down years. All right. So now we're going to compare it to the S&P 500. And just remember, if you started in 2000, the S&P 500 ran out of money in 2016, where the Wellesley still had 50% more than what you started with after taking $5,000 a year adjusted for inflation. And again, I don't think you're going to take a fixed amount adjusted for inflation each and every year, but be that as it may, we're going to run it. So now starting in 2003 until the end of June of 2021, what happened? Well, the S&P 500 is sitting at 329. The Wellesley is still at 145. So not only do you have more, 50% more than what you put in the Wellesley, you were still able to take $5,000 a year adjusted for inflation in 2003. Now check this out, though. The max drawdown for the S&P 500 was 55%. 55%, more than a half of your capital. The max drawdown for the Wellesley is about half that. Isn't that interesting? Compounded annual growth rate of the Wellesley is only 2.04. Again, we're taking $5,000 a year adjusted for inflation, and about three times that for the S&P 500. Isn't that interesting? All right. The correlation of the Wellesley to the S&P 500 is only 80%, which is interesting. But standard deviation is 6.05. All right. So we've talked about standard deviations before. I'm not going to talk about that right now. But anyway, look at this. So the S&P 500 is at 329. Well, that's great, but you're 18 years in retirement. I hate to say it, but that, in of itself, that's not the big concern. The big concern is not run out of money. Wellesley did not. Still at 145. Anyway, so if you look at the actual withdrawals, the Wellesley which was the blue, blue is Wellesley, red is S&P 500. We're taking $5,000 a year. What are we doing here? Actually, hold on a second. What do we got there? Is that? I don't think that's what I wanted to show. Show display income. That doesn't look like income, does it? Portfolio. I don't get what that is. What is that right there? Portfolio income. Oh, that might be dividends and whatnot. Okay. Dividends and income. That's actually pretty interesting. That's dividends and income. Gotcha. So this shows you the value of the rising dividends. That's pretty interesting. Okay, but it's not the income in terms of what you're taking from the portfolio. That's interesting. But either way, that doesn't make sense here. That's not relevant. Because what we're doing is we're taking out $5,000 from principal. It's total return. It's all we care about. But that is interesting if you're looking at just taking your dividend income out. That's pretty interesting. All right, so now let's go back to 2003. Now let's start in 2007, right in the buzzsaw that was the global financial crisis, GFC. And let's see what we got here. All right, so there's Wellesley, there's S&P 500. And again, 2007, look at that. The S&P 500 after 2007 is up to 166, where Wellesley's still at 129. I mean, again, every single scenario, the Wellesley held its own. Not one time we're anywhere near running out of money, whereas the S&P 500 is just, a couple of times got spanked. And then over the last 12 years, the S&P 500 has recaptured some of its glory. But, man, I tell you. So let's just go back to the beginning of Portfolio Visualizer, 1985. And we'll just mess around here. And again, we'll do a Wellington here later on. Wellesley from 1985 till today, S&P 500 is at 3.08 million. Wellesley's only at 1.173 million. Show income. Yeah, so you can see the Wellesley's income. Look at that. It's just generating more income without question because the S&P is only dividends. That's interesting though. Actually, is that only dividends? Or is it? Because it is the S&P 500, the VFINX. I wonder if that's dividends and capital gains, because there is some capital gain. I don't know. It's not that big a deal. But anyway, so let's take a look from 19 right here. It's still the Wellesley. So basically, you get about a third of the growth on the upside a half the downside risk going back to 1985. You never ran out of money, right? And you were able to maintain your living expenses. I'm just going to throw in 6,000 here. So it'd be 6% initially, adjusted for inflation. Let's go to 6,000 a year. Start in 1985, and let's oh boy, this thing's got some of my kale. And so that looks good. All right, let me. I want to go back to 2000 and see. There's no way it's going to survive. Let's go to 1995. That'll be 25 years. All right, so let's see what we got here. Yeah, so here's the Wellesley, 1995. It's still at 290,000. S&P 500 is at 600,000. So you're knee deep into your retirement, and you did suffer the 2001 and 2 with S&P 500, but you also suffered 2007, 8, and 9 with S&P 500. But then you get some. I mean, that's just a look at that. Some huge more upside, a lot more downside. The question is, where are we in the stage right now? And you can see it a mile away. Let's go to 2000 and see if the Wellesley was able to survive at 6% a year. I bet it did. So the S&P 500 certainly ran out of money. Yeah, look at that. The Wellesley's at 6,000, 6% a year adjusted for inflation. The Wellesley is still above par. And the S&P 500 ran out in 2013? Yeah, let's do 2007. I mean, in 2007, look at that. You still did fine. The S&P 500 is at 119. Wellesley's at 100. That's at 6% a year. I mean, so no. All right, so I'll do a Wellington one here in a second. But if you ask me, if I'm about to retire, I'm looking at significant downside risk from the market, which I think you need to be, frankly. I don't see how you overlook the Wellesley unless there's something you're trying to leave. If you're trying to leave a significant estate, well, in that case, just buy life insurance for heaven's sake. But even that 6% a year, the Wellesley performed, man. Now let's go one more. Go to 1990. Let's just see. So let's see what we got. We got people putting a pool in next to us, and so they're tearing down some trees. Yeah, even that 6%. I mean, S&P 500 again is at 2.5, 3 times the Wellesley, but the Wellesley is still even Steven. Well, I mean, 3 times where he started. Even at 6% a year. I don't know what else you can say. You can't say it's because the interest rates. I mean, you can say the interest rates were declining, and that gave a juice to bonds, okay, but I mean, interest rates declining give a juice to stocks too. Interest rates going up and it hurts stocks. Don't fight the Fed. Anyway, so Wellesley is at 6% a year. It's just all right. We'll see you. Love to hear your thoughts.